thanks so much for joining us today. It is so good to have you back on. I have an exciting interview with Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch that I'm very excited to share with all of you, so stick around for that. But we are now 6 months into this new Trump administration. 6 months. Can you believe it? We're, well, a little bit over. I won't discount how far we've come. We're a little bit over 6 months into this new Trump administration. And when we think back at all of what has happened, I think with the exception of maybe the month of April, I have come to you every Wednesday and Saturday talking about what it is that they're doing. And I honestly feel like every day it is a new, crazy, weird, stupid story that we have to talk about. I think back to the start when Elon Musk was there, when Elon Musk was running his reign of terror on the federal government. Do you remember when they put these strange little emails, when they sent out these emails requiring federal workers to write 5 things they did this week, and it was kind of high school English class style, talk about what you've done. That's what we started with. Or that random, arbitrary federal funding freeze that just froze the entire federal government for a day and put everyone into chaos. That was another thing that happened. We've had in the week since the Signalgate, remember that? When members of Trump's national security team were talking about war plans on the messaging app Signal, Houthi PC small group. You might remember that name. That was the name of the group chat. Or how Pete Hegseth then was doing the exact same thing, but this time with his wife and his brother and his close aide. It's things like this that this administration has partaken in that you really think hard about what exactly Trump has been sent to office to do. And we think about it really long and hard. I mean, there's so much that I completely glossed over in this little recollection of mine, but there's more that he's done. The tariffs, the big ugly bill that he made a flagship component of his second term. Both of those things are also big, big things that we've talked about plenty here on the show, but that's not the point. The point isn't to talk about policy. The point is to talk about the man himself, Donald Trump. What has he done since coming into office? Has he done anything meaningful? That's the big question we have to ask at this 6-month mark. Has he done anything meaningful for the people of this country? Now, when we think about it, there is new polling that shows him underwater on virtually almost every issue. More Americans believe that we are in a recession or on our way to a recession. Americans are not wholly approving of the Trump immigration strategy. Actually, they had to publicly concede that they were profiling people based on the color of their skin, and they had to say that they won't profile as much. We have seen them go back and forth on tariffs. Mind you, that's not even the problem of them going back and forth. The whole point of the tariffs was to make life better for the American people, because you might remember Donald Trump ran on this express purpose of lowering costs. But then one of his biggest things that he's done since coming into office is champion a policy that raises taxes by essentially taxing all imported goods. And as American consumers, we import a lot of things. And so virtually raising the costs of so many everyday goods. Everything about this administration has just been hypocritical. Now, 6 months in, when we think about this, when I think back to January 20th, and I think about what it is that we would have been talking about right now, for sure I would know that most Americans would not approve of Donald Trump. That was not surprising to me at all. What I wouldn't have expected is a fracture in the Republican Party. Yeah, we're going back into that whole Epstein thing, as much as I don't like to talk about it as much here on the show, because it's not policy. It's not like something that, you know, we have to talk about it, because it really highlights the erosion and the absence of I don't even know what in the Republican Party. And I mean to say that about the leadership of their party, not the people that vote. And I point out all of this because Republican leaders are in the middle of an identity crisis right now. They're in the middle of an identity crisis. We talked about the whole saga and everything about it. So if you want to watch my video from last week, please tune into that. You can go watch it. I pretty much talk about a lot of it, and not much has changed since then. So I want to talk a little bit more just about the ramifications of what we are seeing. The Republican Party ran on this purpose of declassifying all of this Epstein stuff. They wanted to make sure that full transparency was pushed ahead, that we were not hiding things from the American people, which, again, there were a lot of people in this country who believed in that. They believed that there was some sort of thing that the government was hiding from us, when in reality, it's more likely than not that it wasn't true. But I'm not going to, stake my claim on that. I mean, I don't know myself much either. I don't work for the government. I don't know. But the point is that Republicans ran on this purpose of declassifying all these materials. They wanted to make sure that they made it clear that any single issue voter on this issue was voting for Donald Trump because he would do that. So what has he done since this has blown up as an issue in his face? Nothing. Nothing. Because that's the problem when you run on conspiracy theories and lies. Because there are people that will eventually start believing all of it. And when you have nothing to show for yourself, you dig yourself into a hole. And that is the problem with politics today. That is the problem. Too many people are running on taking advantage of people. They are not running on solving problems. And so to all the Republican leaders who for months would not shut up about this whole Epstein stuff, and now as soon as they are being challenged by their own base are trying to tread around the issue or are trying to ignore it altogether, shame on you. Because you lied to your supporters. You lied. And we are seeing them right now badger around this. According to Politico, they are reporting that Trump is, quote, clearly furious about the media fixation on all of this, on this whole thing. Not to say that if this was, Biden's administration and this was all happening, they would obsess over it like crazy. So when the other side does it, it's a problem. Staff are struggling to manage the messaging around this issue, and they're trying to deploy distractions. They're trying to change the news cycle so that people aren't talking about this enough, but it hasn't succeeded very well. You might have seen this headline from Tulsi Gabbard. She posted this intelligence piece relating to the Russia stuff, the Comey and all of that sort of thing. You might remember the whole Russia investigation and trying to debunk some of it. And they thought that they thought, the Trump administration thought that they did something golden. They're like, we got him right there. They put this Russia thing out. And I kind of really liked Senator Mark Warner's response to it, which was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something to the effect of, if this is what they are declassifying everything. But they must really not want to declassify the Epstein stuff. And it's true. I mean, we're seeing internal divides within the Republican Party. This is the first time, and I've covered Trump for years. I've covered him for so long. I know that no issue of this sort gets on his skin, sticks to him like this. None of that happens. It always goes away in a week. At most a week. But we are in week 3 of this whole episode, and it has not gone away. And Trump is not happy about that. In fact, it's been so long, and mind you, a week in American politics is like a year. I can't even remember when this whole thing started, the most recent iteration of it. But we are in week 3. I have covered this for years. Not many stories with Trump make it this long. Not many of them stay in the conscience of the American people. Somehow this has. And I think it's because it's endemic to the Republican base. This has been such a core component of their base. Like, they care about this issue right up there with the cost of living type of thing. Like, this matters. And so when Trump got caught lying and misleading, his own people. They weren't happy. Senator Thom Tillis, you remember him. He's the North Carolina Republican who announced that he wouldn't be running for re-election after Trump and his people essentially bullied him out of running for re-election because he wouldn't vote for the big ugly bill. Senator Thom Tillis says, quote, "Release the damn files." Release the damn files. That's a message. I mean, what is there for them to hide? I am just so curious now. I'm not the type to go into this thing like that. Because really simply, Trump ran on this whole thing that he was going to declassify. He ran on it. No one's making anything up. So either I would think there's nothing there and he's too embarrassed to say that he lied to his people, or there's something incredibly damaging that he doesn't want. One of the two. Because if it was a clear-cut look at this whole thing, he shouldn't have had a problem declassifying. There is something in there that he must not want us to see, whether it's a lack of anything or a lot of something. That's just my take. But 6 months into this whole thing, this Trump administration, I really think about what it is that his supporters will get mad about. And it seems like this is that issue. It's not, mind you, it is not cutting 17 million people off of their health care. It's not attacking the media and free speech constantly. It's not about undermining our court system. No, it is this issue. Nonetheless, MAGA is having an identity crisis right now. And that identity crisis is stemming from this lack of transparency over something that didn't need to happen at all. They didn't have to do this. You know, Trump didn't have to run on this whole issue. Republicans didn't need to make it their personality. They chose to do it. And now they have themselves put themselves in a stupid position. One, I'm sure they never would have wanted to be put in, but it's only because of themselves. It's only because of themselves. And when Trump blames Democrat administrations or blames Democrats, no, don't say that. Because this has been a single issue on the right that it has championed for years now. And I have seen this myself. I have seen it for years. This is all on the Republican Party. They own this. So don't attack the other side for no reason. Don't. So that's the whole whatever saga you want to call it. I call it a saga because I don't think it's over yet. I think we're going to keep hearing a little bit more about it. But 6 months in, what do we reflect? We reflect on the damage that has been done. Damage that I don't think we can reverse, even if we wanted to. It would take a long time to fix this. And so when we are 6 months in, half a year in, we are about 1/8 of the way through this administration. 1/8. We just have to do this 7 more times. And I know it's a lot. 7 more times and we'll be on the other side of this. But how's the opposition looked? Admittedly, it's been two-faced. On one hand, we have the actual party opposition infrastructure leadership, and then we've had everyday American people. Our leadership has not done great. It hasn't. I mean, I talk to leaders up and down, all levels. There is an absence of leadership in the Democratic Party, and we need to change that. It's a vacuum. It's not like there's a bad leader. It's people who have taken on the leadership that don't need to be there because there's no one else to do it, though. That's why they're there. The Democratic Party needs leadership. It needs direction right now. That's how we meet this moment. Writing letters is not going to do anything. What we need is substantive responses to what this administration is doing, attacking the American way of life. is being attacked. Really, America. This is un-American what they do. And the Democratic Party's response has not been strong. The leadership has failed, and that needs to fix quick. It's not like we don't have time. We still have time, but it needs to happen now. Now. But I do point to the leadership, and yes, they have not done a great job. But on the other hand, in that absence of real leadership from the top, we have seen leadership from everyday people. We are seeing people take to the streets, protesting, calling their representatives. They are doing the work of organizing and speaking up and using their voices, because in this moment of history, your voice is your superpower. And so in these last 6 months, while I've been disappointed by what I've seen from leadership, I have been so inspired and proud of what I've seen from the grassroots. And that is what we need more of. That is what we need more of. Millions of people turned out for the No Kings rallies when Donald Trump threw himself a birthday parade. Just last week for Good Trouble Day, hundreds of thousands, millions of people turned out to honor the memory of John Lewis, the great Congressman John Lewis, whose big slogan in life was getting into some good trouble. That's important. We had the hands-off rallies that happened across the country to tell Elon Musk and Donald Trump to keep their hands off of us, off of our programs, off of Medicaid, off of Social Security, off of the American people. It is this type of organizing that supports, that carries forward this idea, this American idea of using your voice, of fighting for what you believe in. So 6 months in, I say this often, 6 months in this episode, but 6 months in, I say we have not given up. 6 months in, we have not turned away. 6 months in, they are only testing us. 6 months in, we can keep pushing back. We will continue to push back, because at the end of the day, in this country, that's what we do. That is what we do. So that's what I had to say for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. My interview with Speaker Chris Welch is right here. He is a state leader in Illinois who is taking on this challenge. He is a leader in this time. And I know I said that there isn't a lot of leadership, but he is one of the few leaders I have seen myself and known who is taking on that responsibility. He is really meeting the moment. And so I'm so honored and excited to share that interview with you. So just stick around and watch that interview. I'll see you on the other side of it. So right now, as the Trump administration is unleashing its attacks on everyday American people, state level leaders have emerged as the front lines of defense for their citizens amid all of what they are doing. My guest for today's episode is one of those leaders taking on the charge to defend the families of Illinois and making sure they get what they deserve, which is decency and respect. After the passage of the big ugly bill earlier this month, which, reminder, cuts 17 million people off of their health care, robs children of school lunches, and takes 3 million people off of their food benefits, my next guest issued a statement and said, quote, "While no state can backfill the devastating cuts being forced on our communities, in Illinois, we will continue to work toward decisions that are responsible and compassionate, because it's clear the decisions made in Washington are neither." Joining me today to talk about the big ugly bill, the budget they just passed in Springfield, politics in Illinois, the headlines, and a lot more, I am so excited to be joined by Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for taking out the time to join us today.
Ishaan, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Good to see you again.
It's great to talk. Before we get into our interview today, why don't you take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself to my audience and some of the work that you've been doing out in Springfield?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, again, thank you for having me on your show. I think this is my debut performance on your show. You do a really great job with the Ishaan S show. It's
Thank you.
spectacular. I hope more young people get engaged and do things like you are doing. I
Thank
will
you.
tell your audience that I am state representative for the 7th District I am representing a district that I grew up in my entire life. Uh, I live in Hillside with my wife and two children, Tyler and Marley. And I tell people I'm just a kid from the woods, Maywood and Bellwood, which Bellwood is one town over from Hillside, and Maywood is two towns over from Hillside. So
Hmm.
I've lived in this district my entire life. I've represented the 7th District, West Suburban Cook County area since 2013. And since 2021, I have been blessed, honored, and privileged to serve this great state as Speaker of the House. 70th, the 70th person to ever serve in this role, and the first Black person to ever do it. And I don't take that lightly. I'm the only person uh, every 2 years that take two also offices, one as state representative and second, after elected by my colleagues, as speaker, as the person charged with running the House, being the CEO of the House. I take that very seriously. And it's not Speaker of the Democrats, it's Speaker of the House. And so you have to do that for the benefit of the entire state.
Absolutely. I mean, quite the work. I mean, I've followed your work for many years, and I know we've gotten the opportunity to meet a few times as well. So it's a lot of great work that you've been doing out in Springfield. And speaking of which, you guys in Springfield did a lot of big work over this in the past few months. On May 31st, into the wee hours of May 31st, after a lot of healthy debate and collaboration, you and the House were able to pass the big budget. And it's a $55 billion budget, actually reduces our state's debt, among other things. And there's a lot of programs that we could talk about. But sir, I wanted to get your read on the budget. What is something that you were able to pass that you are proud of, or something big in it that my viewers should know about, many of whom are from Illinois?
Yeah, I got to tell you, since I've been speaker since 2021, this is the fifth year in a row uh, since I've been speaker that we passed a balanced budget where our revenues meet our expenditures. It is a fiscally responsible budget because it is balanced. Our budget work has led to Illinois' credit rating continuing to get better and better and better. We've had 9 credit rating increases since I've been speaker, and it was our goal going into this year to pass another balanced budget. But we didn't want to do that on the backs of working families, on the backs of people that live across Illinois that work hard every day and depend on the state budget. We wanted the budget to be responsible, and we wanted it to be compassionate. We funded our education system, uh, K through 12. We funded our higher education system. We funded our vital human services network. We funded violence prevention organizations, and we continue to see violence numbers go down. We funded our safety net hospitals, hospitals that serve typically low income communities, largely made up of people that look like you and I, Ishaan. And so when I tell you this is a balanced and responsible budget, it's a budget that takes care of people. Very different than that budget that we saw passed in Washington by the Republicans at the order of Donald Trump. The big ugly bill, the big BS bill, uh, if you want to call it, it cuts healthcare for 17 million people, like you talked about. It cuts food and nutrition assistance for poor people. It's called SNAP. It's going to take away vital funding for kids that are looking to go to college and get a college degree to help take their families to another level. Um, when I got in this business, I said I was getting involved to help people. That's why I think it's important that you pass a budget that's responsible. You don't spend more than you have, but it has to be compassionate. And kicking people off of healthcare and other vital services is just cruel.
It's absolutely egregious what they're doing, and actually, what a flawless transition, because that is what I was about to ask you about right next. The big ugly bill, like I said at the top, takes millions of people off of healthcare, off of food assistance. And I got some Illinois specific numbers. I mean, the numbers kind of vary from study to study, but what I got here is about 330,000 Illinoisans losing Medicaid, 350,000 losing food assistance, billions in cuts to education. I mean, that's just some of it. When you are looking at a budget like this? I mean, obviously, it's hard for states to drum up a way to respond to all of what they are doing. But when you do look at a budget like this, what concerns you the most, and what is something that folks like yourself in state government can do to combat it, if anything?
Yeah, what concerns me the most is the harm that it's going to cause to the most vulnerable people out there, the ones that need government the most, the ones that need access to healthcare. Of that 17 million people that are getting kicked off of healthcare, 300,000 of those folks are right here in Illinois. We're going to have 360,000 people who need food and nutrition assistance kicked off of that right here in Illinois. That's not going to make things better for our state. That's going to put people, in a worse condition. And that concerns me because Medicaid may be the only health care that these folks have. They're going to work, they're trying to do things and make ends meet, and now they don't have access to health care. It could cut people's lives shorter, it could make hospital stays longer. There's so many things that are cruel about what was done in this federal budget. I don't know where to start. It could even close hospitals and close hospitals in rural areas. Already it's hard to get access to healthcare in many of those communities. And now they may not have access to healthcare at all because some of those hospitals may close. In Illinois, I think I saw a number of 9 rural hospitals
That's
may
right.
close. So
That's
there's
what
a
I
lot of
saw.
things that concern me about what happened. What I am uh, going to tell your people is that it's really hard for Illinois to backfill um, what has happened in Washington. Because we're talking large numbers of federal dollars that states typically receive, monies that have been stopped for our schools, for instance. It's hard for states to backfill those types of dollars. And so it's my hope that, you know, we can return to a democratic form of government, that we can send a message in 2026 with the United States Congress and return Congress to being a check on the president's powers rather than a rubber stamp. Right now, we are certainly headed toward tyranny and fascism, Ishaan, because the president basically is dictating what the Supreme Court does, what Congress does, what uh, uh, the cabinet full of billionaires do. There's no one pushing back on this destructive agenda, and we have to cut this short in 2026, or this damage may be irreversible.
And you do mention some of the destructive things that are happening in DC, and I've been asking this to many of the guests who've been coming on the show. And I think more particularly for someone like yourself, who is in this important figure of authority here, a lot of people are looking up to many of you in elected office um, for guidance in this moment. It's confusing. It's confusing what they do. It's upsetting. It's angering. And a lot of people just don't know how to channel that. And you mentioned the 2026 midterms coming up. Yes, obviously, we want to work to that. So, what could people be doing to work towards that? But even in the meantime, like even tomorrow, if somebody watches this interview at night, like the next morning when they wake up, what is something that you would tell them to do? And how can they really combat this using their voice?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Ishaan. I would tell people, don't get discouraged. Don't lose hope. Our democracy is resilient. We are a resilient people. We have been fighting, the good fight for a long time. And I would tell folks that are watching this to, hey, let's make some good trouble. Like the late Congressman John Lewis said, let's get out there and turn that anger into passion. Um, let's get out there and get involved. Run for office. If you don't want to run for office, support someone who is running for office, and that's going to represent change and a check on a destructive agenda like the agenda we see coming out of Washington. Get out there and help someone get on the ballot by circulating petitions. Knock on some doors and explain the difference between what's happening with responsible legislators in government at the state level, like here in Illinois, and what's happening on the federal level. Let's explain the difference to people and tell them why we need to get like-minded people into office in Washington, D.C. We can't sit around and complain. All we're going to do is get more of the same if that's all we do. And so I think it's important that people don't get discouraged, don't lose hope, that they turn their purpose and their pain into purpose and get out there and let's go to work. Winners do the work.
That's right. That's right. Winners do the work. Let's talk a little bit about 2026. It's a big year. It's going to be undoubtedly a big year for across the country, but even here in Illinois. Listeners of the show may know I am based out of the northwest suburbs here of Illinois, so pretty competitive part of the state for sure. We have a lot of House districts that are rumors are going to be that they're going to be open, or we are trying to unseat Republicans here. When you are looking at your map and you are talking with your people about how best to get a majority that serves the people of Illinois, what do you say is going to be your goal going into 2026 when you're thinking of expanding the majority that you may have, or even building new inroads in places that may have not been touched before? What is your strategy into 2026 to reach new voters?
Yeah, my strategy is going to be very similar to what I did in 2022 and 2024. We want to elect, more Democrats. Our goal is to elect people that believe in passing responsible and compassionate budgets, people that care about people, people that want to help people. And we're going to look at those opportunities as they present themselves. Certainly, in the House, I call it the Great 78. We want to return the Great 78 to continue serving the people of the state of Illinois. But if we can build on that, we'll certainly look for those opportunities. I think in the Northwest suburban area, there is some opportunity for us to flip a seat. We came close last time by 47 votes. And I certainly think that in 2026, that's certainly an opportunity that will present itself again. And so we're going to look at districts like that, see where else we can identify pickups, and see if we can continue to grow the Democratic Party. One of my jobs as a leader of this party is to help build the party. I want to get more people like you involved and continue to grow.
Love to hear that. I mean, and thank you for the shout out for the 52nd district specifically over here. We had one of the candidates on. We're going to have another candidate on soon as well. So please stick around, keep tuning in for the show because we are bringing those folks to you. But continuing on this 2026 talk, Senator Dick Durbin announced in April that he would be retiring from the Senate after nearly 30 years of extensive and great service to the state of Illinois. And it's opened up a pretty vibrant, I like to say, vibrant and competitive field to replace him in the Democratic primary. There are a few folks running: Representative Robin Kelly, Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. And in a press conference last week, Speaker Welch, you endorsed Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. Could you walk us a little bit through your decision in doing that, and what about Lieutenant Governor Stratton excites you for 2026, and why you think she is the best equipped to go to Washington for the state?
Yeah, I honestly think the Democratic Party has a lot of talent in this U.S. Senate race. I think that we're rich in talent. We got a nice deep bench, and the candidates in this race proves that out. I know Juliana Stratton. I served with Juliana Stratton in the Illinois House of Representatives. And the last time we were fighting a billionaire Republican who wanted to gut healthcare, gut seniors, gut veterans, gut this state to the bone, Juliana Stratton stepped up and did something about it. She ran for office and she won. And she came to Springfield and helped us break a record 736-day budget impasse. And she was just a rock star. She was such a rock star that Governor Pritzker, who was then candidate Pritzker, tapped her as a running mate to be his lieutenant governor. And I got to tell you, that's how impressed I was with her too. I would have done the same thing if I was running for governor at the time. Uh, she's quite impressive. She's proven that she knows how to fight bully billionaire Republicans who want to hurt working families. And I think Washington wants something different. They don't want people that are there already, that's already part of that process. They want someone who basically is an outsider and that's going to come in and bring a new voice and bring a new energy, bring a new passion, and go in there and fight for what's right and do what's right. And I personally believe that that's Juliana Stratton.
Thank you so much for that. And you mentioned your interest in getting more young people involved earlier in the interview. I mean, I'm a young person myself, and I would also love to learn about more ways to get involved. So what is your message to young people? I mean, my audience is actually primarily college students, high school people, young professionals. What are ways that we can specifically get involved, maybe with your efforts in the House or in congressional races or Senate races, even the ones that you support? Like, what is something young people can do in this moment? Because I talk to people all the time my age and my generation who don't know exactly what that looks like, but they're so excited to do something. What are some immediate things that they can get into?
Yeah, there's a whole host of places to start. You can get involved at the local level and go to your local committeeman and get involved in local races. You can go to a candidate that may be running for the state house or the state senate and get involved in one of their races or one of the congressional races, because we're going to have some congressional contests in the area in the northwest suburbs. I know uh, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy's seat is going to be an open seat since he's running for U.S. Senate. Maybe get attached to one of those candidates and help them become the next congressperson from that district, or get involved in one of the state races for governor, comptroller. We're going to have Secretary of State, Attorney General, or the United States Senate race. One of those great candidates sparks your interest, volunteer for their campaign. There's a lot of opportunities, and certainly if you want to get involved in a state house race, they can always reach out to us at Democrats for the Illinois House, and my team will certainly point them in the right direction. We're always looking for people to get involved. We don't turn any volunteers away.
That is great to hear. I mean, you listened to the speaker. He told you ways to get involved. If you are interested, that is, I mean, I couldn't have said better myself. It's great stuff. Mr. Speaker, we are unfortunately almost out of time here in the interview. But before I do let you go, are there any parting thoughts that you'd like to share with my audience today?
Yeah, I think I said it earlier that winners do the work. If you want to get involved, you want to do something about it, get involved. Don't be afraid. And if you do the work, uh, the results will show up because winners do the work.
Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch, Mr. Speaker, it is such an honor to have had you on here on the show. Please come back sometime. We'd love to have you back on.
Ishaan, the honor was mine to be on here with you. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. You're a winner, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was my interview with Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much to him and his team for making this possible. It is an honor that he joined us. And again, we hope to have him back on very soon. But that's all we have for today for our episode. If you liked my commentary, then please subscribe to my Substack and stay in touch with the show. It's a great way to join me in this journey of independent news, political news, content creation, and all of that sort of thing. I like to post my full interview. So that interview with Chris Welch, you can watch it in its entirety on Substack. And one day we will get a newsletter running, political newsletter, to get my thoughts on the news when we're not making these episodes. You can follow the show on Instagram at the Ishaan S Show. It's where I like to post clips from these episodes. And you can follow me on Instagram at Real Ishaan Shrivastava, and actually on TikTok as well at Real Ishaan Shrivastava. And you can follow me on Blue Sky at ishanshrivastava.bluesky.social. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today and for that interview that we just had. Again, keep using your voice. Stand up for what you believe in, because that is what this moment calls on you to do. I will keep doing what I do. I'll keep being here, and I'll be here on Saturday, either for an episode, but I have a fun interview I want to share with you that day as well. So stick around. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for joining us.